Y'all respect the one who got shot. I respect the shooter.
My name is Johnell. This is Designated Report Behind the Lens. And for the second time, we're going to make it work this time. By way of Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Florida, I'm here with Morgan, Tencza. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Wow, you still remember my background and
Yeah,
everything.
yes. We had a very in-depth conversation, and then I dropped the ball. I apologize, but a lot has changed since then. So I'm glad we're able to make some time and talk again.
Yeah, it definitely turned out for the better that we got delayed a little bit on that release because things changed pretty quickly after we recorded that.
That's
And
good.
dramatically, I would say.
And all good things, right?
Yeah, good things came out of it for sure.
That's good. I'm glad. So we were talking a little bit before we came on. You are now in Jacksonville, and the move was spurred by a job opportunity.
Yeah, so I am now working with Jax USL. It's the newest championship team in uh, USL, but of course we don't kick off for a couple more years. We're also going to have a women's team in the USL Super League, which is Division One Pro women's soccer. Really crazy, exciting times here. I am one of four full-time employees, uh,
Nice.
so it's really a startup for sure. But it's exciting getting to be on the ground floor of this kind of soccer club that doesn't even have a name yet.
Oh, well, so I know prior to this you were freelancing, so I'm sure that's a very nice thing to not be worrying or wondering when your next gig is going to be coming up. What type of right now, like what type of work do they have you doing, or what are you doing? Are you taking photos? What's going on?
Yeah, so my role is social media manager, but I'm also signed on as the team photographer whenever we do have anything photograph wise. They were really happy that I had that like talent. Um, but for the most part, I'm just day to day is just basic social media stuff.
Okay.
And pretty much everything on the creative side. So I'm creating graphics, I'm helping write copy, helping write
Nice.
press releases and all that stuff just because we're a four-man team and you got to
Oh,
pretty much do
wow.
a little bit of everything. I'm on the events crew. Like we had an event today and we were just kind of getting out there because everyone has a hand in something, just because we're all hands on
So,
deck at this point.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so with the freelancing, I'm still doing that. Since this team is non-existent, well, not on the field yet, I have a lot of free time as compared to most people who work for a club. I do have weekends free for the most part, unless we have an event. So I am picking up a lot of freelance still.
Nice. Nice. Excuse me. And when we're kind of getting in the weeds, but I'm very interested. Once this team does finally kick off, like, is there going to be like, is there a draft, or like, what's the process between now and them getting onto a field?
Yeah, so I'm still kind of learning that because I haven't really been in this kind of position before. I did work for the league. I worked for USL right out of college for a few months. So I did get a little bit of insight. But for us, there's not really a draft in USL. I'm not sure about the women's side what they're going to do because they haven't kicked off yet. Super League kicks off in 2024. We're hoping to kick off both of our teams in 2025, but it's dependent on when our stadiums complete.
Mm,
But for the process, I was talking to our business development slash technical advisor at the moment about it today, and he was saying that hopefully the end of 2024 we should have a manager or looking to find a manager and also starting to talk about player signings and what that process is going to look like and maybe even have some tryouts because as you see in like I'll just relate to MLS expansion clubs. St. Louis had a team a year ahead of time and they played in the league lower. We won't be doing that because the only reason we're not kicking off like tomorrow is because we don't have a stadium yet. So
gotcha.
once we have that stadium done, the ball gets rolling and everything can get started. But we're looking to start, like, obviously building the team a little bit before then. But like I said, St. Louis had 2 DPs signed in the city a year before they kicked off for MLS.
Yep.
So I don't know if we'll do that far in advance, but we will be talking about what manager we're going to bring in, what kind of players, and who potentially we could select. And I think just because USL doesn't have as lengthy contracts as MLS does at the moment, most players are still on a year-to-year contract. Some of them have 3 years, which is only just started a couple years ago. They started doing longer contracts with USL. So it's just dependent on what players are under contract still and what can we just pick up who's a free agent.
Gotcha. Well, best of luck and all the success in that. I know you've got a little bit of time to, you and the team to plan everything, but that sounds incredible. Congrats.
It's really cool. It's I never thought that like learning about land and like where a stadium can fit could be interesting, but I'm a soccer nerd, so this stuff is pretty intriguing to me. And being able to have a say and my opinion be valued on our branding and our team name and our color scheme and our crest is really, really cool. That's in the process right now. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say who, so I'm not going to say, but we have a top name soccer crest designer. Hint, hint, you probably know who he is. He is working on our team crest. So I think we're going to be in good hands.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see what comes of this. So I'll definitely keep my eyes open.
It's going to look cool. What we have drafted right now looks pretty cool.
Okay. All right. So before we get into all the photography stuff, I want to get the negativity out the way. U.S. women's national team.
Do we have to?
It's sad, man. Yeah. It was sad.
I actually cried. Like I legit cried on Sunday.
So it's one of those things. I think we might have talked about it the last time. Like I got into soccer very late, probably in the last 4 to 6 years or so. So I thoroughly enjoy the game. Like I'm still learning the game for sure. But I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch the women play. And when I tell you I had knots in my stomach and like my chest was tight, and I'm like, every time it was a lot, honestly. And I was upset that they didn't win.
Yeah.
Or move on.
No, I'm the same. Like it's hard to just push blame. And I know that's what the media does. I know that's what social media does. I've done it on social media too. It's hard not to blame Vlatko for a lack of subs. You saw it in the charts that they made. It just the lack of use of the depth. I mean, if you put together roster by roster, US has the best roster in the world. They have the best bench players. They should be utilizing their bench. But at the same time, a lot of our star players did not step up. They did not play well. It was kind of, it's a whole team thing. I mean, their mentality was in it. I didn't say that. But they just didn't look like themselves. And it was sad to see. But as a whole, this World Cup has been so much fun to watch because it really shows like the growth itself in the past 4 years from the last World Cup across the world is incredible. Like that's exponential, incredible growth.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking on the side.
So with the US out, I don't want to assume that you're rooting for the USA to win, but with them out, who do you think is going to win the World Cup?
So I think England has a really strong chance. They've been strong throughout this whole tournament, but then they also did not look themselves against Nigeria, but Nigeria was also a crazy good force. So it could go either way. I'm also rooting for Colombia just because their kits are awesome. And they're a good team as well, but my heart's in England. I studied abroad there and I could see myself living there someday. I call it my second home. So I'm rooting for them.
Did you, I don't think I knew that you studied abroad. Did you get to go to any games while you were over there?
So when I was abroad, it was after my summer with the Philadelphia Union. So it was after my sophomore year in the fall semester, and I had no money. So I really was limited. Sorry, my dog is running around. I was really limited in what I could do when I was there. So I did not go to any Premier League soccer games, but I did get to shoot a Leyton Orient game. They were playing, I think, in League Two at the time.
Okay.
Their stadium was like so tiny in this little town. It was in London, but it was a neighborhood, pretty outside, and it was a really cool experience. I didn't think I was going to be able to shoot anything there because they're really strict on their photography laws and everything, and I didn't know anyone at the time over there that could help me out. And I had put on Twitter that I bought tickets to this game because it was really cheap to get like front row tickets there because it
Mhm.
is League Two, and the social media manager at the time DM'd me after he saw it, and he was like, "Hey, we would love to have you shoot. I know you shoot for the Union over
That's
the
awesome.
summer. You had a player named Jay Simpson on your team." And I was like, "I know Jay. Like I worked with him." He was like, "Yeah, Jay actually helped us get promoted last year. So any fan of Jay is a fan of like
That's
me." So
awesome.
he was like, "I'll get you up with credentials, and like if you send us photos, we'll use them and tag you." And they did. It was really cool. And I still keep in touch with that social media manager. He's actually going to be working in the Premier League this year in one of the teams. I forget which ones. It's one of the newly promoted ones. And it's just really cool how like a random thing on Twitter just like got me. And that
Yeah.
was before like I'm known quote unquote on Twitter. It's just like just knowing certain people. Excuse me one second. Sorry.
Yeah. Bring them in the camera.
Come here, Benny.
Benny,
Say hi.
how's he getting adjusted to the new place?
It took him like a month to get
Really?
adjusted. He was really bad the first month. I think he was extremely overwhelmed with the move because I don't think he understood it. I mean, obviously he's a dog, but he did not listen to me for like a month. I had to like basically retrain him,
That's
and now he's a
crazy.
good boy.
He
Because
was mad
he's
at you.
actually his birthday's in 2 days. His birthday's August 10th, so he'll be a year old. So I think that's what makes sense the most.
Gotcha.
It's like a
Well,
kid moving; they don't understand.
yeah. Happy early birthday, Benny.
Thank you. All right, stop eating the blanket, okay? All right, sorry.
No, no problem at all. No problem.
It's like having
Um,
runarounds.
so also I want to get into we were talking about you being abroad. We had somebody come from abroad, Mr. Messi, the GOAT. You got to shoot his first two games.
Yeah,
What was that experience like? I can only imagine.
I keep having people ask me about this, and I have been like 10 feet away from Messi, and I still can't believe it. I watched him play. I watched him score 3 goals. Like, I just like I still can't comprehend it, right? I still can't convince myself that the Lionel Messi is in MLS.
Yeah,
Like the league with that holds my heart has the best player of all time in the sport. Actually, probably the greatest athlete of all time is
yeah,
playing in the US, like playing only like 500 miles away from me. It's probably no, it's 300 miles away from me because it's only took me 4 hours to drive there. But but it was such a crazy experience. Like the atmosphere is something that I have not experienced at Drive Pink before. I have been there, and the crowds are amazing. Like regardless,
mhm,
I have always had a good time there. Their fan group is just so good, but it's a different atmosphere. It's messy, and like the media coverage was crazy. Everything was just insane. Um, I feel so bad for Inter Miami, like their staff and everything. That's a lot to deal with. I can't even imagine. They were very patient with me. It was kind of a last minute thing. I shot 4 Leagues Cup, which was really cool. So in the second game, I got to be on the sideline for the warm up. So that means I was even closer. And
awesome.
his
Yeah,
kids and I were playing with each other, even though I don't speak any Spanish. They don't speak any English. We were still playing with each other because they were like fighting with like they had Messi flags, so they
yep,
took off the flags and were just like playing swords with the flag sticks. And I was like, these are real kids, you know, like he treats them like real kids, as you can see anywhere. And it was just such a unique experience to see the world react to that. And I had a firsthand like witness to his
yeah,
greatness. And I've never seen him play in person before. And in that first game, he subbed on in the 60th minute, and that game changed so much. Like, and then the second game, everyone just he makes everyone else better around him. And
yeah,
that's one of the reasons why he is the best player of all time. Because not only is he incredible, he's also makes everyone around him better. He tells them what to do. He makes the pass, or I think everyone just wants to step up to his standards as well. He
That
makes
makes
them
sense.
want to play better. But it's, you see him in the locker room, you see him on the sideline, and he's happy. So he's going to help bring up the feeling in Miami. And even if they win every home game and win like all of their away games, it's very close to them not making the playoffs. But this year is not, it's not about this year. He has 2 more
Yeah.
years after this
Yep.
too.
Yep. And it's honestly been incredible to watch. And I don't want to diminish who he is or what he does. He's making it look so easy.
I know.
And, you know,
Sorry.
don't worry. He's making it look so easy. And I've heard a lot of conversations as of late, like, is Messi too good and blah, 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 blah. And I would like to get your thought, but it really just seems like, I don't think, like, yes, the MLS isn't, some of the leagues that we see overseas, but I think it also goes to just how great Messi is, and, try not to take too much away from the talent that is here in the MLS.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I have the same reaction to the people who are like, "Oh, it's just MLS." I was like, I know Taylor Twellman tweeted it. It's the same exact run and goal that Messi did in MLS that he did for PSG, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Same exact, like everything. The defenders, you see clips of him running out against France in the World Cup, doing the same stuff he did in MLS. It's not MLS. It's just how good Messi is. He'll do that no matter who his talent is. Of course, they're going to blame it on the league, and of course, a lot of the defenders in our league come from the super draft, come from MLS academies.
Yep.
The defenders are not the star players in this league, unfortunately, but it doesn't mean that they're any less good. And it also doesn't mean they can't stop Messi, or that, and it doesn't matter what the price tag on these defenders. They're not stopping this man because he just is too good. He's too good for the world, not too good for MLS.
There you go. There you go. And again, we're going to get the negativity out of the way early. He scored 3 times in the games that you were at and refused to celebrate where you were shooting. I feel like you have to get to another game.
I'm gonna have to. I'm trying to find an outlet that will send me to another game. My biggest pet peeve is, not only did he celebrate opposite of me every single time he scored, the next game I was not at, every single time he scored was celebrated on the side that I was sitting. I'm like, this man is actively avoiding me. I'm trying to get in touch with his PR team, be like, hey, does this man just like not like me? But if he has a vendetta against me, that means he knows who I am. So maybe
That's
that's
true.
also the case.
That's very true.
It's half about luck, and I actually did research into seeing what side he would celebrate on. And of course, since he plays on the right side, you would think a lot of times it depends on which way your body's facing. That makes sense to me. His first goal of the second game, it made sense why he went to the other side, because it's the way the force took him, because he took the ball across his body, and the player who gave him, Robert Taylor, who gave him the assist, was already over there, and he was obviously going to go celebrate with him.
Gotcha.
So it made sense. And since he's not really playing the right side, that's his position, but he is all over the field. So it's really just chance, unfortunately, and I got screwed over multiple times. But I would love to go back. If anyone's listening who wants to send me, hire me, please. Because it's really fun. I mean, it's a very long day for me. It's 5 hours down and 5 hours back that I do in one trip.
Yeah.
And it's a long game, and it's Florida heat, but it's so worth it for just to witness his greatness.
Yes. And all the photos that you've captured and shared, I'm sure you probably still have a vault of Messi photos that haven't hit social media, but they've been incredible. Just, it's as much as it's the gameplay, it's also, those in between moments. You see him smiling, you see him with his teammates. Like, it just so cool. Just I'm envious of what you've been a part of over the last month. So let's get into photography specifically. How long have you been shooting? How did you get into photography? How did it become a passion of yours?
Yeah, so this is definitely a long one. I have been in love with photography since I can remember. I remember stealing my mom's little digital cameras and her cell phones back before I had them and just taking pictures all over. For my 10th birthday, I got a little digital camera. It was burnt orange. I remember it was like 10.4 megapixels, and I was so excited, even though I did not know what it meant. I
Yeah.
was taking action shots of my dog running in the backyard and all this little stuff. We would set up little photo shoots in my house too. And when I hit high school, I took photography class. I knew I wanted to do it. And even my senior year, there was no photo 4, so me and another friend created our own course that had to get approved by the school board
Oh,
so
wow.
that we can continue our photography lessons. It was mostly just a second study hall for both of us, but it allowed us to get more critiques on our photos. When we did do photo shoots, we did them not as often as we did the previous years, but we still got to grow in our photography, got to talk to the photography teacher all the time, and it was just a really good experience for me because you learn the basics of photography, you also learn the basics of Photoshop, and it was like I love this thing. But I wasn't really into sports as much then. And then when I got to college, I originally went to school for physical therapy. And when I got to Quinnipiac in Connecticut, I decided to join the newspaper so I could stay with photography and get out my creative outlet while I was still studying.
Yeah.
And then halfway through my second semester of my freshman year, I was at this event, this conference, and I had been teetering on a while, like how I don't really, not really passionate about physical therapy. I did an internship over the winter break, and I was like, if I had to do the same thing every day, like it's gonna be so boring for me. And I was like, I really liked learning about the human body and everything. I like the mechanics of it, but I was like, there's no way I can do this
Yeah.
for 6 more years of school, let alone do this for my life. And being at that conference made me realize that one guy said at the conference is like, if you're passionate about something, you'll find a way to monetize it. And I took that in a stride. So I literally called my mom after that conference was wrapped up. I was like, hey, I'm changing my major. Like, I'm doing it. She was like, are you sure? I was like, hell yeah. And she was like, I got you. Like, she went to culinary school in the 80s, and that wasn't a thing then. So she was like, I followed my passion, you can follow your passion.
That's awesome.
And I just like doing the newspaper in college, you do a lot of sports, and I was like, this is it. It's always rapidly changing. There's never the same shot. It's an action nonstop. And
Yeah.
I was like, this is it for me. And I changed my major. I studied communications, minored in sports studies and PR just to get a more well-rounded education. Because at the time, one of my former classmates, her name is Liz Flynn. She's a Mets photographer,
Okay.
but she was doing communications and minors in sports studies, and she was like, "This is the best place to do like my school in communications, you only had 6 required classes, and everything else to get your full credits for the major just had to be in the School of Communications. So it really had so much flexibility for me. And I was able to take some creative classes, able to take some journalism stuff just to kind of get more comfortable with everything, and stayed with the newspaper all my 4 years, was the photography editor for all of them as well. And when I knew I wasn't, it was going to be hard to do photography full time, so that's where I kind of went the social media and content
Sure.
creation route, just so I can be more well-rounded and hopefully land a job that does a lot of photography, or have at least freelance photography to land on.
That's incredible. Like the fact that I'm so intrigued by people who they knew that they wanted to do photography from a very young age, and just how they get to this point, and the steps that they took, because it seems like while you knew you wanted to do photography, it was, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it did seem as though for a bit it was a question of whether or not you can do it as a career.
Yeah.
And because of that, you had this physical therapy that you kind of had in your back pocket. And like you said, you got to a point where somebody told you if you're passionate about it, like do what you love and get
Yeah, you
paid
couldn't
for
work.
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
That's
crazy because I was actually a few years ago, I was flipping through like an old yearbook I found. It was my fifth grade yearbook. And where it says where you want to be when you grow up, it says photographer. I
that's
was like,
awesome.
no way, I don't remember saying that. And then the reason I went away from photography is my freshman year when the guidance counselor asked me what I wanted to be. And I was like, oh, I'd love to be like a photojournalist. And she goes, no, that's a dying art. You don't want to do that. You're way too smart for it. And it turned my head and made me think it wasn't possible as a career. And I'm just like, why are these schools pushing away people from following their passions? It's
Yeah.
just, especially at such a young age where it's like, it's really hard to figure out what you want to do in life. And if someone's so passionate about it, why push them away from it and make them have to search for something else? Especially they're going to be like me and go back to it anyway. I
Yeah.
wasted a year of school
Yeah.
doing something else. And I chose my school based on physical
Physical
therapy. And
therapy.
thank
Yeah.
God Quinnipiac has a really good communications school, especially on the sports journalism side, that I met amazing professors and other people within the school that helped me find my place, even without like a photojournalism or a photo program or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you made your way back to it because we'd be missing out on your art. So to that counselor, screw you.
Mm.
Um,
You know who you are.
um, yeah, exactly. So you're still doing some freelancing on the weekends until everything ramps up at your full-time job. You had been doing freelancing for a while. Um, what's that process like? I know, again, the stability of having a job, or like if you're working for the team, like you're not worrying about or wondering when your next shoot is or when are you shooting your next game. Is there a little bit of anxiety that comes along with being a freelancer? And I mean, I guess, do you enjoy it?
Yeah, so for me, freelancing is not about the money. I mean, it's really nice to have, and I don't really do shoots anymore without money unless it's something really special. But not knowing when my next one's going to be is kind of disappointing, and I am anxious. I was like, why isn't anyone hiring me? I mean, all this stuff happened in Florida recently, and I didn't get hired for any of it, and it was really disappointing. Especially, I was like, what am I doing wrong? Is anyone like just not seeing my work? I keep on trying to put it out there, but is it too much sometimes? So it's just all this stuff, like piling on top of each other. So it is really nerve wracking. I will say I am with USA Today now. um, I have been since end of February, early March.
Hmm.
Right as I got laid off from my previous job, a week later I caught on with USA Today, which was really cool. But I haven't been able to do that much stuff with them. For places like any kind of wire service, it's a very big seniority rules kind of vibe, which is
Sure.
makes sense. I mean, these people have been putting in a lot of hard work and they're established and they're really good at what they do. So I'm not taking it away from them. But I've been waiting and waiting and waiting to hear. Hopefully, I was like, some of the outlets I was shooting for before, I told them I was with USA Today, so I can't commit to shooting these games for them because if I have to shoot for USA Today, that comes first.
Yeah.
So I lost out on a lot of things, unfortunately. But I am very grateful for USA Today. So I hope no one's listening is thinking otherwise. I'm really excited because when I moved to Jacksonville, they were pumped because they don't really have anyone up here. So I'm shooting 4 Jags games this year. So
Oh,
it's my
that's
first time shooting
awesome.
NFL. I am so excited, especially because I get the Chiefs here. So I get to shoot Super
Yes.
Bowl winning
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey, who is my sister's favorite person in the world. So she's very excited about that too. And it's just a unique experience that I wouldn't have gotten without them. And I've gotten some really cool shots with them. I got to do that Chicharito photo for
Yep.
them. And my experience with them so far has been super fun. And I'm looking forward to doing more stuff with them. I definitely know I have to like make my place there. You have to show them what you got, and
Sure.
I'm hoping that I keep proving it for them so they keep hiring me again. But freelancing in general is very difficult. You have to know people, and you have to know people who know people, and all this stuff. But when you do get those clients, especially if they keep coming back to you, it is really rewarding. I've worked for the same kind of people coming down to like Orlando area a couple times. I work with the Rowdies really often. I'm still driving down there because I'm going to root for them until my team kicks off. And even then, I'll probably still root for them just as long as they're lower than us on the table. I keep telling that to my boss. I keep telling that to them. I'm like, you guys are my heart and soul. I actually shot for them 2 weeks, or I guess a week and a half ago, as their team photographer, as their normal team photographer was out of town and they won 3-0. And one of my BFFs on the team scored a goal, and it was just a really fun time. And I love being with those guys. So doing freelancing is really rewarding, especially when you're working for a team itself, because you get those experiences with these players.
Yep.
Even if it's not as depth. I mean, I've been with the Rowdies. This is my 3rd season being in that atmosphere. So I do have that relationship with the players. But even then, like with USA Today or with freelancing, I get to be on the field a lot with these players, but like at least in the soccer worlds, because USA Today has like the rights for MLS. So I'm like get to be closer to these players and getting to capture precious moments that I wouldn't normally on a sideline.
Yes.
Just like their interactions with their walkout kids, or signing things at the end, or just player like interactions after the game. It's really unique that I don't think I would be able to get working for anyone else, whether
Yeah.
it's a newspaper or another wire service, because I know USA Today has that like sole thing with MLS and NWSL. But like working with a club directly is my favorite, to be able to do that stuff, because my favorite thing to shoot is like the moments that fans don't normally get to see. So goal celebrations a lot, then just emotions and fan stuff. It's just really nice to show that side of the world they may not see.
And you
Sorry, that took a
mentioned
tangent.
no, it's fine. It's fine. You mentioned just kind of backtracking a little bit. You mentioned USA Today, and you're like you constantly have to show them what you got, you know. And one of the things I was thinking about earlier, I just didn't know if we would get here, is so say you're shooting the Chiefs Jags game, and you're in the end zone, a touchdown comes your way, there's a big celebration, the whole nine. Is it just expected that you will get that shot, or is it a situation where if you like really nail that shot, that celebration, Travis Kelce comes over and jumps on Patrick Mahomes' back or something, and you catch it, like, would that catapult you to, like the top of the priority or the seniority list or whatever? Or does it not? Is it like strictly just how long you've been there?
I mean, I'm honestly not really sure. We are expected to get that shot, but like, let's say I was on the other end zone, they wouldn't be mad because they know it.
Sure.
They know you can't get everything. They just hope you do. And I haven't been here long enough, and it's not something they tell you that it's seniority. It's just something you kind of figure out. And
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not mad about it. I don't want anyone
Yeah.
like getting mad at me, because I completely understand. Like, I get it. They've been fighting for them a lot longer. They're also more comfortable with the system, uploading faster, probably writing better captions, all that stuff.
Sure.
I don't necessarily know if it'll catapult me, but it'll at least make them feel comfortable sending me
That
to
makes
more of
sense.
those games. It's the knowing that I could capture that kind of stuff. And I think that's happened before. And it's not like it goes down the poll, right? So if someone takes that spot, they don't need to offer it to me. So they might want to offer it to me, but it goes to other people first, like I said. And it's also, they normally do all of those games ahead of time, like ahead of the season, especially with NWSL and MLS, because they have the rights, they need to get someone there. So for the most part, they have the same like 2 people shooting those games, just because they knew them before the season started, that they were there. And for me, I came in just as the season was starting, so they already had their people in place.
Gotcha.
Versus like I found out about the Jags thing like 2 weeks ago, and the season doesn't even start for a couple more weeks.
Yep.
So it's really just like they need to get ahead of it. So I'm more like a backup in case someone cancels or no one filled the spot, or they want 2 photographers at this game if it's a little bit bigger of a deal. So I think it's mainly because of that. They, like I said, they don't tell me these things. It's just something you can kind of figure out, especially if knowing the space. And I know the photographers who do the MLS and NWSL for the most part, at least in Orlando. And like they're there like almost every game, so I know they probably signed on for the whole season. And whatever then they can't cover is when they offer it up to the others. And there's a
Makes
couple
sense.
more. They hired another a photographer who was also a soccer photographer in Orlando. He actually lives there, and they hired him the same time as me because they realized they needed more people in Florida. So he also is there, and they're probably offering it to him first because he's closer. So like I said, I mean, they're all really talented, so it's not like they're missing out by not hiring me. I'm just a little disappointed, but
Yeah.
like I said, my time will come. And being in this system
Yes.
already, I'm only 24, so being in the system already is kind of life changing, and getting to do just the few things I've done with them so far is really cool. And the fact that I'm going to be able to shoot NFL is just so awesome
Yes.
because it's really hard to get into the NFL. It's so gatekeeped.
You're
It's
telling
really
me.
only up to like the newspapers, the wires, and like the teams and,
Yep.
and NFL Focus. Like that's it.
Yep.
So it's cool.
Yes. No, I definitely, I feel the pain of trying to get cleared for an NFL game. USA Today, just for clarity, Morgan's not complaining. We're just, we're trying to get her to more games. So if some things open up, make sure you give her a call. So I don't know how long I've been following you, maybe a year and some change. Primarily soccer. I feel like I've seen a little hockey sprinkled in, maybe a little baseball sprinkled in. This is going to be your first time shooting the NFL? Have you done any football prior?
Yeah. So when I moved down to Tampa, I actually was shooting for a organization called the Daily Stampede. They were part of SB Nation and recently a part of the SB Nation cutoffs, unfortunately. So RIP, that amazing group of people who put their life and soul into USF coverage. But I did get to shoot those games, and it was a really good experience of getting my first hand in football, because if I didn't have that, I don't know if I would be comfortable shooting football for the first time for USA Today and NFL. I'd be very overwhelmed because it did take me a little bit of getting used to for football, just because it is both a vertical and a horizontal game. And I also don't know that game as well as I know soccer. Knowing the game definitely does give you an advantage to follow the play. So I am a little nervous, but as long as I get like the main people, I think I'm safe. Like at least for the first game is against the Chiefs, and as long as I get Trevor Lawrence and Patrick Mahomes, like I think I'm gonna be safe and get some action in there too. I should be okay. But yeah, it is nerve wracking. But I have shot like every sport now. I'm pretty sure I've shot every single sport just because Quinnipiac had all sports except for football. And I actually got to shoot 2 Lightning games this year for USA Today.
Okay.
That was my first pro stuff for them, and that was awesome. Because again, like NFL, it's very hard to break into, especially with the Lightning being so good. I still get notifications that my photos are being used from that, especially the Jersey Devil game. That was really funny. Like the New Jersey Devils won very late in the game, and those photos are still being used because like I made sure to get just plain players, like with no one else in there, because those are the ones that they can use when trades happen or talks are happening about the player, because it's evergreen kind of photos as long as they're still on that team. So yeah, that was really cool. But I have been able to shoot everything, and like definitely the college athletics allowed me to get comfortable with every sport except for football, obviously.
Okay, you're gonna be great, by the way.
Thank you.
No worries at all. You're gonna be great. So I know, so I primarily shoot basketball, a little bit of baseball, but I've shot one soccer game. I shot the U.S. women's national team late last year. They played Germany up here in New Jersey, and I remember talking to a few of my friends, like, like what would you recommend in terms of lens and, that type of thing. And, everybody was kind of like, if you have a 70-200, you'll be okay. But if you're able to get your hands on a 300 or even a 400, like that's going to help you out immensely, just, when a play's in the middle of the field or something. What's you're a Canon shooter, if I'm not mistaken, right? What's your current setup for a soccer game?
Yeah, so right now I shoot on a 1DX Mark II and a 300 2.8.
Okay.
Occasionally my boyfriend lets me use his 400 2.8, and I love that. So thank you, Sam. Whenever he doesn't use it, because he's also a sports photographer, and like a freelance sports photographer. So, but other than that, I also have a 70 to 200, which I love using, and I use that for the majority of my, like all of my college career. I used a 70 to 200, and then only got a 300 once I moved down to Tampa. And then I have a couple other lenses. I have a 24. I have a couple other bodies. I have a rule that I can't spend my money on camera gear unless it came through like shoots. Like my money came from
I like that.
freelancing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, life takes a different turn. I had just saved up enough to buy an R3 when I got laid off, and Benny had a medical crisis, and there's just life gets in the way, unfortunately. So I'm still saving up for that R3. That's my next purchase.
Okay.
Because once I have that, I can use pretty much unlimited crop with my 300. I do still rent stuff whenever that's needed. I might rent to like an extra 1D Mark II. It just depends on what your lighting situation is too, because at least it's soccer, it's played at night, and a
Yep.
lot of places don't have good lighting. I'm very lucky. Orlando has really good lighting. That's one of my main places I shoot. The Rowdies does not have good lighting, so it's really rough. I don't shoot on my backups at that point. I only shoot on my 1DX Mark II, just
Yep.
because that little difference does make it. But then, yeah, so I really want that R3. I got to like play with one when I was in London in October shooting the women's national team. I didn't want to bring all of my own gear, so I rented R3 and 200 to 400 f4. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
And that was such an incredible like camera to use. Like it took me a little bit to get used to.
Don't worry.
It took me a little bit to get used to it, but it was really worth it when I was there. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Benny, come here. You're gonna sit on my lap the rest of this fall because you're being a brat. He's gonna join us
That's fine.
the rest of the interview because now he won't bark. All right,
Benny.
so yeah, when I was in London and I got to rent the R3 and the 200 to 400 for like f4 that also has the built-in extender.
Mhm.
Because of the R3 and how good a mirrorless is, you can pretty much do unlimited ISO without grain. And so I got to use that extender all the time to make my camera basically what a 400
That's
to
awesome.
600.
Yeah.
Like it was so cool to use, and it did take me some getting used to. So, but because of that, like my photos are such good quality, and I had a high ISO for it, and I was like, oh, this is the dream. I really, really want one. But like I said, I can't afford it right now, unfortunately. So we're still saving up for it. But hopefully things will go my way soon and the world will stop hating on me and stop giving me other things. Oh my God. Yeah.
Soon come. We'll get there. So you said you're a soccer nerd. Did you play soccer?
Yeah, so like you, I got into soccer pretty late. I fell in love with soccer when I was in like 8th grade. That's when I first started playing. I never played higher than club soccer. And I only played club soccer for like 1 or 2 seasons. But I mostly just played rec soccer. I did play when I was living in Tampa. Haven't really found a league that I like yet in Jacks. And I've gotten better than I used to be. But it's really just a sport that I love. Besides playing it, I like to say my soccer IQ is off the charts, but my soccer skills are really below. Just because my vision is good. And like everyone used to say it on my rec team back in Tampa, they're like, your runs are great. Like, you know what you're doing. I just can't put my feet on the ball right. Like, I just can't get those dynamics right, which sucks because like I could be like a star, you know? But I'm not destined to be a star. So
Yeah.
I do love the game. I love watching it. I fell in love with MLS when I was in high school. The one good thing that came out of my high school relationship was that he introduced me to the Philadelphia Union, and because of that, I fell in love with that team. Got an internship with that team for 2 years, one with their minor league team and one with them, and then my career like skyrocketed after then. And I never wanted to work outside of soccer. Even when I was doing physical therapy school, my intention was to be a physical therapist for a soccer team or at least have an association with one. Um, but I just like love this sport. I've always wanted to work in it. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing in the beautiful sport. Um, and you said that, so it all kind of makes sense. It all comes together. You mentioned that knowing the game helps when you're shooting and
Yeah.
your IQ's through the roof. So it all comes together. It makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you can generally follow the play, or at least, especially if you know a team really well. Like if you shoot the same team consistently, you know what they're looking for, like on corners or certain plays. Like you get to study them, and like that's why team photographers normally get the best shots
Yes.
because they're with the players every day. And the team will look for you too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's also a good
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly. So I mentioned before, I love I love your photos because again, everybody always preaches peak action, peak action. But capturing those moments between the moments is something that I truly love from you, just like the intimacy of some of the photos that you share. Is that something that you actively seek out at games?
So I'm trying to do a little bit more of that too. It really depends on who I'm shooting for. The USA Today, they really want the action and the
Sure.
celebration because that's going to be most used. And even just like some player portraits, but something that can be used all times. Like, so if you look on anything on ESPN, or like any kind of brand shot, those are the shots that they're looking for. So when I'm shooting for them, I shoot differently than when I'm shooting for a team. When I'm
Makes
shooting
sense.
for a team, you kind of get a little bit creative, and like that's actually one of my favorite things about shooting for an organization that doesn't have any limits. So when I was shooting for Club 11, they really, really like those unique moments. And they pretty much give you full creativity because they're also not paying you. That might have changed since I was with them, which is fine. They were giving me experience that I wouldn't have gotten without them. And
Sure.
I still talk to those guys. I love them. They do great work, everyone in that org. But because there's no pressure on it, you're able to really create really cool content.
Yeah.
And because of that, I was like, okay, let's get creative, try to get more portrait shots. I love doing portrait shots and I love doing celebration shots and trying to find the little moments. But I also do get distracted by the game. I get distracted by certain players. And of course, like obviously when I was shooting the Messi games, all I wanted to focus on was Messi.
Absolutely.
So I see other people's photos and I'm like, oh, that would have been such a cool shot. And you kind of get a little bit of FOMO or like, oh, I missed out on like that kind of shot. But you got your own, and trying to peek between the lines and find something that's a little different or at least a different angle than anyone. Most of the time, I try to like, I it's hard because once I get into camera mode and like things start happening, I pretty much black out kind of thing. Like my instinct takes over, and it's hard for me to try to get the unique shot. Some of the times I do pay attention, like that picture from Nashville that gets circulated a lot where the light leaks are coming through and the smoke is going and everything looks hazy yellow.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite photos of all time because I am the only one who has something like that because I was the only one on that side of the field. And it wouldn't have come through the other way. And it happened to be a split second that the light leaks were coming through, which only lasted a few minutes. And then because it was a 4 o'clock game, so the sun was setting.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then it was right after Nashville scored, so they released the yellow smoke. So it was as the smoke was dissipating and the light leaks were coming through, and then the action just happened to be right there and was falling on the players. It's a magical photo, and I actually saw that happening because I had seen the light leaks coming in. I was like, oh, these could be some cool shots, and I have some regular photos without that smoke, but it just so happened that they scored at the just the right time, and I was able to get that photo, and I still am in love with it. Like every time I post it, it like gets so much love because it's such a unique shot. And to this day, I have not seen anything like it, especially from that game. And that game, it was the stadium opener for Nashville, so there was a lot of media there, and the fact that I am the only one with that photo is really cool.
Yes. And speaking of that photo, you were reposted by Art But Sports.
Twice.
and
Twice.
twice. So
Twice.
like, to me, I feel like that's become like a gold star. Like if
That was literally my goal in life. I keep saying it. Every time it happens, it makes me so excited.
like, yes, like what, so speak on that a little bit more. Like, what was that? Did you, I don't know. So I kind of know about the person who runs it. Like
Oh,
they
that's
have
cool.
this incredible photographic memory of art. Like
Yeah.
they see a picture and
They
they're
don't
able to
like use
like,
a reverse engine. It's so
yeah,
cool.
crazy. But do they, I'm assuming that like you repost or you posted that picture and they found it, like
Yeah.
retweets or whatever, and they found it and that's how it went. It's not like you reached out to them like, hey, look at this picture type of thing.
No, so sometimes people tag that account and they'll see it through that. But they saw my Chicharito like front wedgie photo and they posted that one. And because of that, they posted on Twitter first, and I sent the person a DM, be like, "Hey, if you're gonna post this on your Instagram, my Instagram account is different than my Twitter account.
Yes.
So if you could just tag that account," and they did. They tagged my photo account. So and then they followed me on my Instagram. I was like, "Oh, we've made it."
Yes.
So when I posted that Nashville photo, I reposted it at the next time. There's like, oh, the Union play Nashville today for the first time since this happened, and they liked it, and then I was like, oh shit, it's happening again. And then they posted it with that, and I was like, this is even better because that photo meant more to me than the Chicharito photo, and
Yeah.
like the one that they matched it with just like made my heart like so warm because that photo means so much to me. And the Chicharito one, like, don't get me wrong, I love that photo. It's so funny to me. But it's just not as like creative, it's not as meaningful. But
Sure.
that Chicharito photo, I'm the only one with that photo too.
That's
So
awesome.
it's
Like,
pretty unique. And it's like that. I don't even like. I kind of remember taking it, and I have it on my like. I was uploading photos. I was like, oh, this is gold. And like normally with USA Today, I don't post until the next day just to give them time.
sure.
Some people post right away, and that's fine. I just like to give them to the next day, or at least to like upload all the photos, just so I'm not posting them first. Um, and that one, I immediately put it up on their site, and then I posted it on my Twitter with the watermark so no one could take it. And I was like, this needs to be seen by the world. And it was in the Athletic article, and it was like, I was like, this photo is so funny. But yeah, that Nashville photo meant more for me. And being on like even before I was featured on Art but Make It Sports, I literally was in love with that account, and I was like, I want to make it on this page so freaking bad. And I'm
Yes.
pretty sure I tagged them in that photo a year ago when I took it, and they never did anything with it. So when they did something with it now, it made me very happy.
Yes. That's awesome. Yeah. I love that account so much. And um I'm pretty sure I saw you repost it, but just seeing your photo like on that page, I was like, that's so freaking cool.
Whenever I see anyone who I know has their photo on there, I was like, hell yeah, dude. Like, you did
Yes.
it. You made it big. Because that account is just like so widely followed because it's such a unique thing. There's nothing else
Yes.
like it. And most of the time, I like when he does it like with memes
Yeah.
because that makes me laugh so much. Like the one he posted yesterday with the coach yelling, and it's like the
Yes.
perfect art. When it matches perfectly, especially when it's like a person, it's so funny.
The craziest thing, and I said this a few weeks ago on Twitter, the crazy thing to me is, again, we have all of these incredible sports moments every night. And like some of the photos that he posts, it's not even like it's the main part of the art piece. Like
Yeah.
it'll be a part of a bigger and I'm like, how, like,
Yeah, that guy's incredible. Like I read that article when they talked about like his like just knowing it from memory. I'm like, you're ridiculous.
yeah,
Like you're using your talents wrong. But I mean, if you're passionate about something, go for it. And he's
there
so
you
good at
go.
it. And it's so funny. Like I love finding stuff on my feed. And especially like, oh, it's just so funny. I can't.
I agree. I'm with you. So photography. I don't remember if we talked about it previously, but a big part of the reason why I made this page, the Instagram page and the podcast, is to kind of highlight photographers, videographers, and just try to shed light on just how much work goes into what people consume. You know, you're scrolling through Instagram or whatever, and you double tap on a picture and keep going. And it's like the amount of time and effort and thought that goes into these posts or capturing an image or a video, like there's just a lot that goes into it. Long days, you mentioned freelancing, 5 hours down, game time, and then 5 hours back. Like, what drives you to want to do that, quite frankly? Like, what do you love about photography that, gets you up every day and keeps you motivated?
I don't even know. I think it might just be the satisfaction I get after I take the photo. But like, even then, I'm like, I'm having fun while I'm doing it. Once I take a shot, be like, look at it, be like, hell yeah, I did that. And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's also like a great social aspect for me. I get to talk to all these people who I might have not met because of it, and not even photographers. Like I get to know a lot of the staff in the clubs. I'm good friends with the ESPN FC guys, Arthur and Alex, just because they've been around a lot of places that I have, doing the same kind of stuff. And you get to meet these people. And because of my photography and like my passion for sports, specifically soccer photography, has
Mhm.
introduced me to all these people. And I think that's one of the things that keeps me going is that I get down on myself a lot. I think most photographers or artists or videographers, we all get that like identities, like what is it called? Identity crisis or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you're not feeling that you belong. Um and it just like I do get down on myself a lot, be like, or like I missed out, especially like I said before, like with this all this stuff happening in Florida, it is very discouraging saying I was like, why didn't anyone reach out to me to do this stuff? I'm just as talented as these other photographers, probably cheaper than these other photographers.
Sure.
I'm like, am I doing something wrong? Um, and that's never the case for the most part. I mean, they might have just not heard of me, or they didn't think about me, or they forget that I live here because I'm so associated with the Philly brands that
Yeah.
a lot of people forget that I live down here. Um, but at the same time, it's like those calls I do get up, being able to shoot these amazing moments and kind of reaffirm to myself that I belong,
Absolutely.
is it for me. So getting the love on social honestly does help. I know people say like you do it for, I don't do it for the likes, but like having, it's not even about the like count, it's having people comment and repost saying like this is such a good shot, like
Yeah.
this is totally Morgan, she always kills it. And just like that reassurance is something that I love even outside of photography and stuff. It's something that I really crave. And just for myself, and like even if someone doesn't like, let's say I post one photo and that I like more than another and the other one gets more likes, I don't care because I like this other one better. And it's like
Yes.
just seeing my photos afterwards, especially edited or just even right out of the camera, I'll be like, I just took this awesome photo. It's just like it makes me feel good and it makes me feel like I belong here. And I don't know, it gives me this sort of creative freedom, or just I don't. It's so hard to explain this feeling that just like you feel like you belong in it, and I haven't felt it anywhere else. Like I love my job, I love doing other stuff, but something about shooting games, especially soccer games, with meeting on the line, it just means the world to me.
I love the answer. I truly love the answer. And again, not trying to put words in your mouth. Yeah, I know, as much as it's not about social media, it's not about the likes or anything like that. Um, there's a certain like validation of like, yes, like I did that. I took that
Yeah,
picture.
more like
And
confirming that
yeah,
my own thoughts, be like, yo, I'm good at this, and other people think
absolutely.
I'm good at this too.
Yes. Yes. And I know, I spoke with somebody else recently, another photographer, and um again, kind of to your point, you mentioned just kind of artists in general. I feel like there's a bit of an imposter syndrome where it's
That's what
like,
the word I was going for.
yeah, and I couldn't think of it at the time either. Where it's just like, is what I'm doing good? And where we are our own worst critics or hardest critics, like, what could I have done better? Or, should I have taken this shot, you know, a little tighter, a little wider,
But
you
I've
know,
gone to
and
the other side of the net.
yeah,
My
exactly.
God.
You
Oh,
know, so yeah, you know, it's not about the likes, but sometimes it's just like I like you said, I did that. I took that photo and I it's a great photo, you know? So I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you on that. So you've mentioned a lot of people, a lot of experiences, um, you know, college, overseas, Philly, Florida, Tampa, Jackson, like everything. Like, do you have mentors or anybody that you can kind of lean on that'll say, "Hey, Morgan, you know, great job, but you know, maybe you want to try this next time, or when you're editing, you want to do this." Like, do you have any
yeah.
mentors or any people that you look up to in that sense?
Um, I haven't really had any direct mentors or people who like we critique our stuff. I mean, I have a couple of photographers who we send stuff back and forth with. My boyfriend Sam is a really good asset to have nowadays too. His eye is a lot different than mine, and he's a full-time graphic designer in
Mm,
athletics. So having his eye on things also helps me realign it, especially if I'm working for a team. Getting the shots that they prefer is also
sure.
really good to know. But yeah, I think especially the soccer photography, the American soccer photography group is really small, and we all kind of support each other and lift each other. A person who's really been a big impact on my career has been Jeremy Reaper. He works for Orlando City and Pride. He's their
Okay.
team photographer. He actually is the one who got me in with USA Today. So if he's listening to this,
Nice.
shout out Jeremy.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of people in my life kind of giving me a chance, even off the field. Different reporters who took a chance on me. Matt Ralph with the Brother of the Game, that's now Philadelphia Soccer Now. He's been doing that for so long, and he gave me my first shot at photography. Trey Madera has been a huge impact on me as well
Yes.
because he's very well known. He's very unique in his eye of the soccer game.
Yes.
And I've seen his growth even too since I started, and he's been part of my growth. And photography is always evolving, and we change our style as we just get older, or each season might be a different style depending on what we want to try. Um, but he's been someone who's like I've known since I started doing photography.
Hmm.
Like the first person I met on the sideline, and he's someone I looked up to before I even started shooting for the Union. I was a really big fan of. Um, and there's so many people I could name. Honestly, I look up to so many different people, and just even on social, like I feel like I have really good friends in this world who I wish I could be around all the time if this country wasn't so dang big. There's some really cool people in this industry, and I specifically say the soccer photography community because I haven't broken into any other community.
Sure.
I know at least on the team side, I know a lot of NFL teams, their photographers are all friends just because it's very hard to break into as well. Um, but I haven't really experienced that on the football side yet. It was very difficult shooting football with the college just because it's like an old man's game, and it's hard to break into. But there are a lot of people who are willing to help, and that's the biggest thing. I want to be one of those people as well. I try to
Absolutely.
be whenever people reach out to me. I try to answer if I see it. Sometimes they get lost in those stupid bots on Instagram and Twitter now,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But I do want to help the next generation because, like, the people who I reached out to about questions or the people who took a chance on me to be able to shoot certain things, it's just like I wouldn't be here without them. I wouldn't be able to turn down non-paid gigs anymore, and all that stuff. So it's just like really nice. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
There's just so many people I could just read off my Instagram follows and be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
this person made a difference on me. This person made a difference on me. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and I love the answer because particularly, you know, you mentioning that you want to help the next generation, you know, succeed and move forward. And I had a conversation with um Tony Huynh from the Orlando Magic. He's a photographer, graphic design over there.
Yeah, I follow
And
him on social.
yeah, and he kind of said the same thing, just like, you know, as much as he wants to, you know, be successful and continue to grow within the industry and within professional sports, equally as important to make sure you're not gatekeeping. If like, obviously you can't answer everybody, and kind of depending on the person and their approach and things like that. But somebody comes at you genuinely like, hey, I really want to learn how to take better photos. Like, do you have any suggestions, or do you know somebody that I can talk? Like, I think that goes a long way.
Yeah,
And I'm also a big believer in good karma. So, by putting that out there, things are going to come back to you, tenfold, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah. And it's like I have always been the young person on the sideline for the most part. I was shooting professionally in college, and that a lot of people look down on that. And obviously, I see these kids in the same position I was. I'd be like, damn, I wish I had that gear set up.
Yeah.
Even now, like imagine having that in high school and college. It's really cool. But then I'm just like, you know what? They have it. You didn't. You don't. Get over it. They probably have rich parents. Lucky them. Like you just gotta help them anyway,
Yeah.
and open the space for them, because if they're talented or they're passionate about it, if they're using it to be on the sideline, that's a different story.
Yes.
But if they're actually passionate about what they're doing, I will help them. I will cheer them on. I will recommend them if I can't attend something. That's my biggest thing. There's a couple of girls in Orlando who are a little bit younger than me, and they're killing the game. Alex Corey and Andrea Vilches. I'm sorry, Andrea, if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
But I don't speak Spanish and I can't roll it off my tongue as nicely. But they are two really young women,
They're
and they
fantastic.
are
Yes.
so good. And watching them grow over the 2 years that I've been down here and have seen them is really, really incredible. They're both working so, so hard to get to where they are now. And it's like beautiful to see. And it's always nice seeing us three girls on the sideline, because it's not that often that you have three young women
Yes.
killing it on the sideline of a men's sport. And it's awesome.
Yeah. I'm totally with you. Um, so again, you've done a lot, quite frankly, in a very short amount of time. Um, you have the new job. You're going to be doing some photography. You're doing a bunch of the social media stuff now. But ultimately, and you may not have an answer for this, ultimately, where do you see yourself um, in 5 years and 10 years? Is it going to be, do you want to primarily do the photography thing? Do you want to transition into social media? Do you want to build the two of those things up together? Like, ultimately, what do you want to do with where you're at now?
Yeah, I have that question for myself every single day. There's days at work where I'm like, I can't do this. There's days doing photography where I'm like, I can't do this. And it's trying to find where I'm supposed to be. All of my jobs since college have been social media. Even in college, my internships were pretty much all social media with a little bit of
Mhm.
photo. I've been in a place where I've been burnt out of photo, but I've also been in a place where I didn't do enough and it made me really upset. So trying to find a balance would probably be goals. It's I do, like I said, I question myself every day about this, because I could really see myself doing full-time photography. I don't think there's a spot where I can see myself giving up any kind of photography.
Yeah.
Um, I'm so passionate about it and being able to do that. I wouldn't mind driving 10 hours to see Messi play and taking pictures of that. I wouldn't mind driving 4 hours to a Rowdies game. It's just, these things mean a lot to me. I could definitely see myself staying in the team side, being able to interact with players every day and tell their stories differently
Yes.
than how people perceive them is my favorite thing
Yes.
to do. I really discovered that when I was at the Union, getting to know these players on a personal level, and them being comfortable with you creates better content.
Yes.
And it's just nice to see the world, to see a different side. And I definitely want to stay in soccer. I love branching out to other sports. So ultimately, I would say my goal is to be something like head creative or head content of a soccer team. where I can have like I can be team photographer at games. But while working other days, I can do social media stuff. I can be with the team, creating those moments and being able to like capture them is what I want to do for sure.
Okay. I like that. And I can, again, so going back to social media really quick, I was looking at your Twitter the other day, and I think you were like, I don't remember what the Twitter handle is. You can tell me. But you were just like, please follow, and I believe it's for the new team.
Oh, no, it was
And-
for Soccer Champions Tour. I actually did some freelance social media for them when they were
okay,
here.
that makes sense. Okay,
But
okay,
also
okay.
follow my Jack's USL team.
Yeah, I mean, all of it, all of it. So yeah, I mean, it again, the fact that you have so much experience already, I think is a benefit to you. And quite frankly, whatever it is that you end up deciding that you want to do, you've got experience in all these different facets. It's only going to make you more valuable to, wherever you end up, wherever you land.
Well, I appreciate that. That's really nice to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do tweet a lot. It's a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, it's
Nah,
what
you're
landed me my
entertaining.
last job. Well, thank you. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I think I tweet too much, but then other times I'm like, I think I'm kind of funny sometimes. So.
Yeah. So you've gotten a chance to shoot Messi. You've gotten a chance to shoot Megan Rapinoe. Um, who else is on your bucket list? Like, who else would you want to shoot?
I would love to shoot like the Sixers. That would be cool. I'm a really big Sixers fan from growing up outside of Philly. LeBron James would also be really cool. Any kind of star athlete would be incredible. I mean, there's no topping Messi, right? So,
Yeah,
but just even, I don't even know, man. Like that is just like that stuff
that's
is
the pinnacle.
cool. I mean, I think my goal would be shooting at a World Cup. I'll
Oh,
tell you that.
yeah,
I would love to shoot at a World Cup. If this year, if the World Cup was anywhere but Australia, I probably would have been able to go. I think I have the talent to get me there,
I agree.
but I don't have the funds to get me there. And most of the photographers are going, they're getting paid, but I don't even know if they're getting paid enough to cover their stuff,
Gotcha.
especially if they're freelancers. But the people who are over there, I'm very much enjoying their coverage. Very, 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 very envious. I would love to be there, but it's just pushing me harder. And my goal is to shoot for 2026. It's going to be really difficult because I am established in the soccer world here, but it kind of throws out the window when it's a World Cup and there's already so many sports photographers in the US. So I'm going to have to work really hard over the next couple of years to get me there.
We're gonna send out good vibes because
Yeah.
I need you at the World Cup. So I have two questions. Well, no, I have one question and one statement.
I'm ready.
I think my statement is my one beef with you is my one beef with you is that there is not enough Benny on your social media. So I mean, take that however you would like, but
He doesn't sit still enough for me to take nice photos of him. Every time I try to take a cute photo of him, he's off.
He seems like a very active. I mean, he's going to be one. So,
He's
speaking of, what you said he had a medical emergency. What happened?
He ate something he wasn't supposed to and had to get it taken out of his intestines. So that was fun. That was a great $4,000 out of my pocket. So
Yeah.
and I have health insurance, but it didn't cover it. So
why would it?
So yeah, that was a whole thing. But luckily, my parents were able to help me cover that because I didn't have $4,000 to my name at the time. So
well, I'm glad that he's okay.
Yeah, he's all good. I just need to take seashells out of his mouth when he's chewing them.
Oh.
He's a mess, but he's cute. So. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm gonna leave you with this one last question.
Okay.
season 3, Ted Lasso, what were your thoughts? Did you cry? Are you hoping there's another season? Oh, what are your thoughts?
I did cry because it was over and it was beautiful the way they ended it. You could really tell that they wanted it to be 3 seasons, but
Yes.
I don't think they were expecting the success it was. So I think they did a really good job of leaving it off on a cliffhanger with that hint at the women's team. I really think that'd be an awesome spin-off show because I think the whole thing about it was, of course, Ted Lasso, the character, was not going to stay there.
Yeah.
They were leading towards it the entire time he was there. That they're like he's going to go back, but there's a lot of people who stayed, and let's say they focus around the women's team, they can still have cameos of some of the main guys, like the
Yeah.
players, or Beard could be a cameo and Nate could be a cameo. But then you have Rebecca and Keely running the show. So they'll be the main
Yes.
characters. And you'll have some really cool chances to introduce some of those like British comedians to join and take over. And I think they have a really good opportunity to keep it going as long as the writers and like everyone stays the same. I think it could be amazing. I'm really hoping so. I need more Ted Lasso in my life.
Me too.
I introduced my roommate to it finally, and she was in love with it, and it just made me so happy. Everyone I introduced to it falls in love with it just as much
Yes.
as I do. Soccer lover or not, like it's a beautiful show, and the fact that it is around a soccer team, I mean, it just makes it so much better.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. Again, I apologize for the last go around, but I truly feel as though we touched on a lot this time around. And again, so much has changed since
My life
February.
has flipped upside down,
Yeah.
literally since February.
So I'm glad that we got to do this again. Is there anything aside from, somebody hiring you to go shoot Messi again? Is there anything that we should let people know? I'll have your Instagram and all that good stuff. But what else is going on? Should we be following all your social accounts?
Yeah.
What else?
So Jax USL, Jax_USL, we will be releasing our branding and our stadium stuff by the end of the year. That's going to be really exciting. And then just staying up to date with me. I want to start breaking into doing some more social media on my end, a little bit more creativity on TikTok, or because people do tell me I have a fun personality for the soccer world, and it's not something that's normally seen, especially from the creative side. So I'm going to try to blend a little bit of both. I'm just trying to figure out how exactly I want to do that. But we're gonna figure something out. I got to use my talents other places because who wouldn't love to have like an influencer photographer,
There you go.
I gotta find my balance. People are like, oh my God, you need to be like front facing. And I'm like, girl, I'm better behind the camera, but
Onward and upward. We gotta make sure we use all your talents to the maximum. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you, and we'll be in touch. I can't wait to see what you do moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think this was a better go around for sure. I think it was
think
meant
so
to
too.
happen.
Yes. All right. Have a wonderful night, and we'll be in touch.
Yes, thank you. Talk to you soon,
Y'all
I'm
respect
sure.
the one who
Yep.
got shot.
Bye.
I respect the
Bye.
shooter.